welcome to another live demonstration. Today, in celebration of Inktober, I'm going to be doing a line drawing. So Inktober, set up by Jake Parker in about 2009, just to encourage people to draw. The rules are pretty simple. Draw one image per day and then post online. But you don't have to follow those rules. I think it's really nice that you're encouraged to give it a go. So it can be a small little sketch on the back of a napkin using a biro. It doesn't have to be in the studio, fine pieces of work. There are prompts each day, and gives you an idea of maybe something to do, but you don't have to follow the prompts. The idea is to give it a go, have a go. So I've decided I'm not using the prompts, but what I'm going to do is try and do a different technique using ink. So it can be pen, it can be a bottled ink each day. And this technique I'm going to show you is just one that's intrigued me, and I thought I'll give it a go. Using the UNI fine line pen because it's waterproof, it's fade proof, it's a really nice little pen. This set goes from 0.05, which is that really tiny one, up to the size 8. And for me, because I'm impatient and I like to get things down quickly, I'm going to be using the size 8 rather than the very fine, tiny line. So this is the technique. It's a scribble drawing technique. And literally, I'm going to do a scribble line all over this. It is called gesture line. And often, what I will do is I won't take my pen off the page as I move from one area to the next. Don't know how quickly this is going to be, so I may take a break in the middle, but I'll see how it builds up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the eye, because even though it's going to be a scribble, there are certain areas I want to be key: the nose, the eyes, the ears, position of the ears. So those are the ones I'm going to concentrate first. The rest will just pull itself together. So the eye is quite dark, and I can come back and I can move into it. But you can see all I'm doing is creating a gesture line or a scribble line. And even the very dark areas, I'm going to fill in with that kind of gesture line. So at the moment, I need to darken, and I'll just keep going over. Just looking at how this pulls together, so the iris shape. So the nose is going to have dark areas. And I will do even bigger gestures. So gesture drawing is a commonly used skill. And I've used it in life drawing. What it does is it makes some wonderful marks. It kind of brings a drawing to life. The main features are you just look at positioning, but other than that, because it's so much movement in it, you don't have to overly worry about where you're putting your marks. So trying to keep a continuous line, but it doesn't matter if I don't. And again, also it's quite difficult not to slow down and really put a more precise line down. I'm really having to think about moving my pen, keeping it moving. Another way you can do this is literally to change hands. Do it with your left hand. That will slow me down, it definitely. Even though I can do it with my left hand, I'm predominantly right-handed. And it's something different. Because by using a different hand, I'm not going to be overly concerned, because I'm going to think, well, it's not going to be brilliant because I'm not used to using this hand. And that takes away one of those fears of, oh no, it's not perfect. Well, I'm not aiming for perfect on this, I'm aiming for movement. And you can see even there how quickly that's built up. And you can still see, this is the beginning of a cheetah, you can see darks and lights. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just build up the shape.
Anita?
Yes?
I have a question about the surface on which you are drawing.
Surface, it's a watercolour paper. I think this is the SAA practice paper. The reason I've picked this up is because I like a surface with a bit of tooth. But you can, with these pens, you can use pretty much any paper. So a nice, really smooth Bristol paper will work, a cartridge paper. It can be a thin cartridge paper because I'm not adding any water to it, so it doesn't matter. But for me, I'm quite used to using watercolour paper for pretty much anything I do. It doesn't often, whichever medium I use, I will often use a watercolour paper, and the practice paper is readily available to me. I might have flicked it onto its smoother side because the knot surface is a little bit too rough, but that's the great thing about papers. Often you can just choose a side that you like. And so that's what I'm using. But any paper you use, and it can be the thin paper, it can be a napkin and a biro. I have been doing the Inktober challenge, and I did a biro piece. Just simple biro, and see what happens there. I mean, I think some great ideas and some great starts for illustrations have started on the back of a napkin with a biro. So the paper I'm using is the practice paper, but any paper will do. It's having a go. That's the whole point.
One more question.
Yes, sorry.
Is it, no, it's me now. Is it the 0.3 or the 0.03 you're using?
0.8.
0.8, okay. But there is
Yeah.
the 0.03 in the packet.
Yes.
Right.
So this packet goes from 0.05, which is the really lovely tiny tip, right up to this 0.8. So 0.05, very fine. 0.8 in this range is the biggest. And I like the big because I like to get it down quite quickly. For me, often you'll find I'll use a bigger brush or a bigger pen. It's just the way I like to work, because you can still get some very fine lines if I just alter the pressure. So yeah, I'm using a 0.8, which is the biggest in this range. If I was using the tiny one, for me, I'd get over concerned with the tiny marks I was making. So it is worth trying something you're not comfortable with, you're not used to, a different type of pen. Even just do this in a different colour. It doesn't have to be black. A wax crayon, it can be anything. It's just, the idea is to try it, and every time you try something, it may not be that perfect piece you're looking for, but you've learnt something from it. You go, well, actually, it inspires you to kind of think, well, when I'm going to be doing, oh, how does it work watercolour? How does it work with ink? So if you're in that real artist, what's the word, Gary? Artist block, which we all have, we kind of go, I don't know what to do. It can be you just doodle. You sit there and doodle the chair that's in front of you. Or you pick up a tool that you've not used before and just use a bit of children's wax crayon and kind of go, oh, that's interesting. Or maybe what happens if it works on this paper? Does it work with water? And that's where you start, and it can be as simple as a napkin in a restaurant. So I'm just trying this technique because it was something I saw people do, and I thought, that's really interesting, and I want to have a go at that. So I've printed off the original image in black and white because for this I'm using a black pen, white surface, so I'm not looking at colour. What I am doing is looking at tonal values. So where is it the darkest? And if I'm looking at my black and white image, the darkest area is the eyes, the areas round the nose and inside the ear. And they do have little black tips around the ear. Now I can go back. So I'm just moving around, and I am looking at patterning. They have a dark pattern coming down here. It's not quite as dark as I want it yet, but I can go back. And that looks like 3 strands, so I'm going to just alter this. This isn't dark enough yet. So as I'm moving around, I'm just thinking about darkening. How can I darken this? Because round the cheetah's mouth here, sorry, that sounded really northern. Round the cheetah's mouth here is very dark. So with gesture, I need to keep going over. Very much like pointillism, you just keep going over the area to build up the darkness. I am considering the direction of fur. It just helps to make things look a little bit more realistic in a non-realistic way, if you know what I mean. It just brings it all together. If I think about the direction, it kind of pulls it together. So I'm just putting a little less pressure on these marks here, and you can see the difference. Even with this bigger pen, you can get some very fine lines. I might change how I hold the pen. The hair is going, I think, halfway down. It goes down the nose and then it goes up. And I only know that from looking at a domestic cat, so I'm not sure if it's the same with a cheetah. But all those little things you kind of learn about, you just then are aware when you're pulling the piece together. So the hair is going across here. It's got a dark patterning under there. I'm getting a bit too straight, so I need to. Another thing is, I often work standing up. In fact, I nearly always work standing up. And this is because I have that big movement and being able to move rather. If I sat down, I get very tight and precise, which works for some pieces. But when you're trying to create gesture, I think it does help to actually stand up. And you'll see I'm also going outside the piece now. So down here, this side has a little bit more shadow. So I'm going to have to think about working on this side without making it too dark. But even with a line drawing like this, thinking about shadow and darkness helps. So in the ear here. Great thing about the cheetah is I've got spots to put on. I didn't think about getting many facts about a cheetah. The reason being is because it was more about the technique.
They can run fast.
Yes, they can run fast. I was going to say it is the one of the fastest land animals. So Inktober, I think today's prompt, because it's the 9th day, is precious. Like I said, I haven't been following the prompts because I wanted to try techniques. But I think this kind of fits into it. All wildlife is precious, and I think we need to do more to help it. So in a way, I suppose it fits in with the prompt of the day. Right. And even with doing something like this, which is quite quick, what I can do is I can walk away, come back to it, and then I see areas that I need to do. So to be honest, that's filling up quite quickly. There's still lots to do. I can see details. So what I will do there is we'll take a short break and we'll come back to it, and then we can just start to put detail on it. It also gives me a chance to have a look, see where I maybe need a little bit more tonal value, and, carry on working. So join me in a minute.
Let us bring out the artist in you. If you'd like to learn how to paint or improve your painting, the SAA is here to inform, encourage, and inspire you every step of the way. When you become an SAA member, you get so many benefits, including the free bi-monthly newsletter Paint, packed with inspiring step-by-step projects, fascinating articles, and detailed information to get your creative juices flowing. Discounts on over 13,000 art products featured on the SAA website and in the Home Shop catalogue, with free order line and free delivery in the UK mainland. A devoted SAA team on hand to answer your questions and give you the confidence and motivation you need to start painting and develop at a pace that suits you. Plus, a free welcome pack filled with gifts and practical help to get you started, as well as the opportunity to make friends with like-minded people.
Best thing about being a MAP member is the inspiration from the magazines, to be able to purchase things at a very reasonable price.
Yeah, you get the reduction on all the materials, the advice you get.
I could shop from home.
It's a community.
It seemed like a very friendly sort of organisation.
If somebody's thinking of joining, don't spend too long thinking. Just join. They'll love it.
And we're back.
Hello and welcome back. So in that short break, what I've done is I've had a look at the original. I've just looked at where I need to alter and add to. So have a cup of tea. You don't have to do a drawing all the way through, which is why a lot of work is completed in a cafe. It's a relaxed kind of way of working. So looking at the eye, just needs to be darker. And you can see by just adding those extra darker tones how it pulls it together. So the nose needs more darkness over it. And let's pick up where the whiskers are. So under here, still much darker. Still thinking about the direction. I'm jumping around a little bit. This is just the way I work. Right, let's darken here because that's a really key feature. Right over the eye. Let's have a look at the shape. So even now I'm looking at shape. Yes, the technique is much looser, but I'm still looking at the shape that the patterns make, how much shadow in the direction of the fur, so along the nose here. I'm also aware of not covering it all. So let's work here. So chin comes here, so they've got lovely, fine, narrow face. So as I'm going down this area, I'm going to add a few spots. What I'm going to do, this has a lovely kind of teardrop shape here. Just pick this up. Little ones here.
Oh,
Yes.
Anita.
Yes.
Joe has a fun fact.
Oh,
about
cool.
cheetahs.
Yeah, I didn't. I was thinking of the technique, so I didn't think about.
Cheetahs are the only wild cats that have black noses.
Are they? Well, then that's actually interesting. See, I know I bring out facts, and thank you for that, Joe. But a lot of the facts that you learn about, like it has a black nose, actually makes me reconsider what I've done. So they have a black nose, therefore it's not going to be as light as you're seeing it here. So thank you for that. So for me, the key facts are fun, but actually they can trigger other things, like maybe this nose needs to be a lot darker to actually show that they have the black nose. So nice key facts. If you've got any more, keep throwing them out. I love facts. I love learning about things. And like I say, little things that you learn can often become part of the piece you're doing. Right, I want to put these little details on. So thinking about the direction, doing quite a light touch. Yeah, whiskers. I must remember, Gary, if I forget to put the whiskers on, which I often do, I'll put the whiskers on at the end.
I'll try to remember.
I often forget. I kind of look at it and then I kind of go, there's something missing, and realise actually it's the whiskers. Because I will often leave those till last, and I've forgotten. So the bigger marks on the back, I keep telling my cat she's not really a cheater because she's a bit too lazy for that, but she has these, I think they're lines that get broken into spots. So she has spots, so she spots and stripes. It's very funny because she's a ginger cat, which has stripes that break up into these spots. That's a lovely shape. There's a lovely heart there. I'll put that there. So over here is going to be darker. So I'm going to try and make some bigger marks. Don't know if these are big enough. The thing about if you put little details on, people are, they know what they're looking at, so they can see the spots. Don't see if I can see it over here, but it doesn't mean I can't put a few. So on the head, just bring out those darker points. What I'm really thinking about is the areas I'm going to leave white. So under here, this is very dark. So this is where I can have a lot of gesture. And this is part of the reason I've used a bigger pen, because it fills up quite quickly. But if I show this, take it in, move it over. Don't keep it too static. And you'll see I'm also going outside the line. This is probably quite scary. You think, oh no, I'm going to ruin it by this. But I think it just adds that extra bit of texture. It is quite scary when I first did it, and I could do the scribble outline, but then taking it outside, that is really scary. Taking it outside your image. But why not try that with other pieces? Try it with watercolour, take your colour outside. It's all just having fun, it's all learning. So the fur, I think, goes down. Need to stand back. So here, it's a bit too light and still. I want to have pushed it forward, but I think it is too white, or I haven't given myself enough light and dark over this side. So let's come back in with the pen. That nose. Let's take the nose up, and the black nose, which Joe gave us this factoid. It comes down here. Still a lot more darkness under here. So moving quite quickly just to fill it up. Just think about the back. The reason I stand back is just to be able to, in this light it gets very flat. I can't always see the lights and darks, so I might have put too much scribble on. Whiskers.
Whiskers, don't forget the whiskers.
I've done the whiskers, and they're the fun bit. Cut that, that's fun. So you can see it's just a case of having fun. I had an outline. All I've done is just use the pen to bring out the light and the darks and go outside the box. So this was a technique I was really keen to have a go at. It's a lot of fun because you've taken away a lot of that, really, the constraints of getting the detail right. And as if I walk away and I'll come back, we'll see parts that I will need to work on, or I just walk away and leave it. Because as it is, I like it. I like that movement. From a static pose, it's given the movement which adds a character. So I hope you enjoyed that, and have a go at Inktober. It's one drawing per day. But if that's too much, it's maybe one a week, it may be one a month, it may be just have a go, it may be irregular. You don't have to post. The idea is you post online and let other people see. But I think the big point behind it all is to have a go, to try, and maybe pick up that fountain pen or that biro and see what other techniques, maybe try a technique, try a different material and have a go. So join us later in the week for a live workshop with Trevor Wall.